I'm Rabbi Robin Frisch, and this is the Mazel Pops podcast. If you're Jewish or Jewish, however you define that, and you love dogs, this is the podcast for you. I have two terrific guests today. Actually, that's not true. I have four terrific guests today. Our two human guests are here with their two dogs. More on them very soon. And in this episode, you will get to know about Suzy and Arlene and the dogs. And in particular, actually one of these dogs and a past dog who unfortunately has passed away, participation in their wedding. But first of all, I have to say, Arlene and Suzy, happy anniversary. It is your 9th anniversary, correct?
Thank you.
And we'll get more on this in a moment.
9th anniversary / 22nd anniversary.
So they've been together that many years, and the 9th is the anniversary, correct, of your actual wedding. And they'll talk a little bit more, but they actually are in the place where they got married. So there's a lot of exciting, nostalgic things going on. And I'm incredibly grateful because I know the two of you are on vacation right now and have joined us. So I really appreciate that. And I just want to share with our listeners and those who are watching that, not unusual for me these days, I connected with Arlene and Suzy through Instagram. And I really didn't know much about them until recently, except that they had these two adorable Maltese pups, Vorno and Levi, and that they had another one, Lucca, who, as I mentioned, sadly passed over the Rainbow Bridge in 2021. And really, I would follow pictures of their dogs. Occasionally, you two would be in those pictures, but it was much more about the dogs, who, by the way, have quite the life. And when I wanted to post pictures of dogs in a Jewish wedding last year, I reached out. I was in touch with Suzy, and you were nice enough to share some gorgeous pictures of the two of you and the dogs from the wedding. And that's what inspired me to invite them here today to share with us about their wedding and about the dog's role in their wedding. So as I said, I'm really thrilled and grateful to have you here on your anniversary in Cape Cod, where you got married. And I'm just so excited to talk to you and learn more about you and your dogs and the wedding. But of course, it is Mazel Pops podcast, so we have to start with our 4 questions. The first one's really obvious.
And thank you for all that.
Oh, my pleasure. So, as I said, first question, very obvious. Do you have a dog or dogs?
We do. We say we have 3 dogs. This is Vorno.
He's 10 years old. And this is Levi. He's a year and a half.
And we always include Lucca, although he's not with us anymore. And Lucca would be 17 if he was with us.
Wow.
But he had 15 great years.
So can you, I know there are lots of them, and we'll get to others later, but can you share a fun fact or two about each of the dogs? And by that, I mean, of course, all 3.
Right.
Oh, my God.
There's so many. The fun fact about Lucca is that he was a therapy dog. I was so proud of him for that. We used to go to hospitals and mostly children's hospitals or children's daycare centers, and work with the kids. And I'm most proud of that when it comes to Lucca. Vorno is our wild child. 10 years old. He has not stopped moving or having fun yet. And Levi, what can you?
Levi is very special. Levi feels like he's a very entitled dog. So he doesn't like certain snacks. He does the dogward down position. He's always relaxing, or he's fighting with his brother. Oh. So,
well,
but he loves him to pieces.
He's a puppy. He's very puppy sis.
So he's trying to make himself known.
Well, he's doing a good job at the moment, I have to say. He is absolutely adorable. So this question I'm going to ask you each separately. What is it that you like the most about Judaism?
For me, I have to use the word tradition. Everything about Judaism for me, I think the rituals, the tradition, I love how you can, no matter where you are in the world, you know that there are other Jews doing the exact same things that we do, that we as a family do, or myself and my family when I was growing up do, perhaps in different ways and in different styles. But the lighting of the Shabbos candles, the Hanukkah blessings, all the different holidays, just the rich tradition of Judaism and how that continues, generation after generation. And for me, that's, I think, what I love most about Judaism.
Great, thank you. And Arlene?
And what I love most about Judaism is, for me, family, tradition, togetherness, support, the love that I see in Judaism and in the community of which I am. I've come from Catholic and I come from Baptist. And when you come from that and you come into a whole more holistic religion, it makes you feel reinvigorated. Okay, so that's what my Judaism did to me. It reinvigorated me and made me, take notice of things more often and take notice of people and everything. Changed me.
It's always so interesting for me to hear from someone who didn't grow up Jewish, because obviously, hopefully those of us who grew up Jewish have things we love about it. But when you've chosen to become Jewish, it's so interesting to hear what was appealing to you and what brought you to that choice. So thank you. And thank you, of course, Suzy, as well. And for each of you, it can be the same or it might be different. What is your favorite Jewish holiday?
My favorite Jewish holiday is Rosh Hashanah. I was born at the end of September. So very often throughout my life, Rosh Hashanah fell on my birthday or around my birthday. So while you're thinking of your birthday and a new year and making sort of new goals for yourself, it was usually spent around thinking of those same sort of things with Rosh Hashanah. Mm-hmm. So it was always it just meant so much more. My birthdays have actually been quite enriched because it always fell around Rosh Hashanah. And even if it wasn't on my birthday, just that time of year, always very reflective and awakening, new beginnings, just like Rosh Hashanah is and how birthdays should be. And round raisin challah doesn't get much better.
Especially in honey.
That's true.
Exactly. Right, exactly. So, and knowing that I was always going to be with my family around my birthday, nice too, yeah. Just without a doubt, it's Rosh Hashanah.
And for me, it's also Rosh Hashanah. I believe it's a time of renewal, a time of introspective for the past and thinking of the future and what we can do better and how we can be better towards people and just a renewal, like a reset of things in life, and that's why I love it so much.
Thank you.
So, and of course, the dinners.
So
a nice brisket.
That's true. Who doesn't love it, except a vegetarian, for those of us who aren't. So obviously the two of you love dogs and you've had 3 together. Did you each grow up with dogs, or was there one of you who was a dog person before? How did you come to be this big dog couple, or little dog couple, I should say?
This is how Suzanne and I became dog parents.
I never had a dog growing up. Lucca was our first dog, my first dog.
Suzanne is a wonderful, wonderful, loving person. And there was a time in life I was going through a little trauma, and we had seen this dog at the store. Now, who buys dogs at stores? But we had seen this beautiful, Maltese. He was 4 months old or something, and he was there, and he's so cute, and But I was like, should we? And like, no, we can't do that. Oh no. Anyhow, bottom line, it's one day I'm walking down the street. I owned a restaurant in New York City at the time. So I'm walking down the street from the restaurant, a little stressing. And here comes Suzanne down the street with a little white fluff, okay, with a blue tie on, blue ribbon around his neck. And she says, here, take this. It's yours. And that was the way we became dog lovers. Wow. We fell in love with Lucca, and that was it.
And that was 17 years ago, about.
And that was 17 years ago.
And Arlene, had you ever had a dog before or no?
I never had dogs growing up. My grandmother would forbade them. I could have a fish.
And did both of you right away fall in love and realize, hey, we're dog people?
Absolutely, positively.
Nice.
Went full in.
Didn't even take 24 hours.
Oh, that's great. So taking a few steps back from that, I want to know how you two met.
We met at a fundraiser. Arlene was catering the event, and she owned a restaurant at the time, and I just happened to go up to her and thought she was cute, and mentioned how good the food was. And she said, well, actually, that came from my restaurant. And we started talking about restaurants and food and being foodies in New York City at the time. And
so you complimented the food.
The rest is history.
You complimented the food knowing before you even knew she made the food.
That's true.
Wow.
Yes.
So, okay. So you two, obviously you meet then, you start dating, you get a dog. Somewhere along the line, you got a second dog, you got Vorno. When did Instagram come into your life? When did you decide we have really cute dogs and we're going to start posting them?
Probably from the beginning of Instagram, soon after Instagram sort of came on board. I didn't know much about Instagram, and my beginning posts were sort of lame. But then I sort of caught on and made lots of Instagram friends and just kept posting pictures of pups.
So I just have to ask, I'm curious, and I'm surprised I don't know this, but do either of you have your own Instagram account or just the dog's account?
I have my own Instagram account. Susie has her own too, but she mostly posts on the Lucca site.
Lucca, Vorno, Levi.
Lucca, Vorno, Levi.
And Susie, are you the one who does most of it?
All of it.
Yes.
I have a little photography. In years past, I was a photographer, so I have a little photography Instagram site. So yes, I'm the momager of the account.
Tell me about the engagement. How'd you get engaged?
We were in Rome.
Nice.
And at a cooking school outside the town of Lucca in Tuscany. So that's how obviously Lucca got his name. We knew that this is what we wanted. And we stopped into the little teeny itty bitty Tiffany in Florence, Italy, and picked out some rings, and that was it. It was a sort of a joint decision. There was no one asking the other or anything. It was something we both just knew that we wanted.
And Italy sounds very romantic. So actually, you brought up that Lucca
was lovely.
Lucca was then named after, when you got Lucca, after the place that you were together on that trip. And then Vorno also has an Italian name. Where did that come from?
There's a little town right outside of Lucca by the name of Vorno. Lucca came first, and then years later, when we got Vorno, it just was the obvious sort of choice of the little town. Name. The little town outside of Lucca was named Vorno. The names definitely celebrate a really special time in our lives. When we officially decided to get married, and just a fabulous vacation too. And Maltese, of course, are Italian descent, so. It just sort of all made sense to name them Lucca and Vorno. So Vorno is not a human name at all. It's strictly just the name of a town. There's no person or dog probably alive by the name of Vorno.
So they are very original. There are other Levis, certainly with people, I imagine, with dogs. So his name obviously is not Italian. So tell us how he got his name.
As many of your listeners may know, Jews often name a new baby after someone who was very special that is of beloved memory. So we took the name Lucca with the L and thinking of L names. And we wanted a Hebrew name this time. And then we took the V for Vorno, so we could sort of incorporate Lucca and Vorno into Levi, and sort of put that together, and you get Levi. What other name can you find with an L and a V? That's a Hebrew name. And the beauty of it all is that Levi in Hebrew means sort of conjoined and together, and like as one. So it just seemed sort of perfect. So Levi will always be a combination of his older brothers.
Exactly.
And we love that.
That's awesome.
He truly is.
So, okay, you have, at the time, you had Lucca and Vorno, and you're getting married 9 years ago, and you made the decision that they were going to be part of the wedding. I'm curious, number one, if you two were in agreement on that right away, and then number two, after that, how your families reacted when you shared that with them.
We knew that wasn't even a question. I don't think we even talked about it, whether they would or wouldn't be in the wedding. It was just, of course they would be, assumed, and we both were completely on board with it. I don't even think we had any discussion about it. It was just like, okay, where do they fit in? What are we doing? The only person that I brought it up to was my mother, who was not so on board with it. I think just generationally, she just couldn't imagine why in the world a dog would be at a wedding, especially a traditional Jewish wedding, which is what we had. She thought it was maybe a little sacrilege, or she just wasn't on board. So I had sent her endless articles. I thought that would help. So articles from the New York Times and Brides Magazine and, dog magazines, and pictures and articles about, famous people who had dogs at weddings and Jewish weddings. And, Mom, so what did you think of all the articles that I sent you? And like, do you get it now? How important it is that, they're part of the family. To us, they're family. Do you get it? No, I don't.
Wow.
Like, well, Mom, we're going to have them in the wedding. And, we promise you it'll be dignified and beautiful, and it won't be silly and needless to say, by the end of the ceremony and during, the reception, my mother did come up to us and said, everything was absolutely gorgeous and the pups were beautiful. And it was so lovely. Everything was perfect. And the puppies were great. And yeah, so
she came around.
That's good. That must have meant a lot to hear her say that.
The time of the wedding, she was still not on board. No. But after she saw how we did it, she, like everybody else, loved it.
And let me ask, because I know you were married by a rabbi who I believe Suzy was a relative of yours. Is that correct? Or no?
Yes, my cousin, okay. Rabbi Scott Speen.
And yes. When you shared with your cousin, the rabbi, that you were going to have the dogs in the wedding, did he have an issue, or was he okay with it?
As a Maltese dog dad, he was completely okay with it.
I knew from that first part
Absolutely.
where you were going. Yeah. I think the first wedding I ever officiated, there was a dog. And I remember at the time being a little surprised, and it was great. And since then I've had many, and it's just been fun. It's always nice. And I think I had said this to you
That's amazing.
In a conversation before, but I always tell couples who want dogs, it's like a flower girl or a ring bearer. You have to be that couple that's okay if someone else steals the attention, because they're going to come down the aisle likely before you, and you never know what they're going to do. And as long as you're okay with that, because not everyone is, and that's fine. Just know who you are. If you're okay with that,
we were fine.
Great. So,
hey, look, we knew that there were going to be there was going to be two other people at that wedding wearing all white. And if two brides can get by that, then everything's okay. So they were the only other two wearing white, and we were okay with it. So
which brings up my next question: what did your dogs wear at the wedding?
They were naked, but the colors we used were blue and white. So we had specially made from a lovely artist. Just blue and white gingham bow ties and leashes that were made especially for the wedding. And actually, it was someone that we did not know. It was through Etsy. This was back before you could find anything and everything on Amazon for dogs or in stores. And we wanted something very specific. So I spoke to this lovely woman in Texas, and we ended up talking on the phone about what exactly we wanted. And I told her, what kind of wedding it was, that it was a Jewish wedding, and that she saw pictures of both of us, so she knew who we were, and that it was two women. And I wasn't quite sure. I didn't care at all, but I wasn't quite sure how she would think about all this. Didn't bother me though. And once total stranger, she sent us the leashes and the bow ties as a gift. And she said that she felt so honored that we found her and that she got to make bow ties and leashes for a wedding. And it was the year that weddings became legal in the United States by the Supreme Court. And she just thought that wanted to celebrate that. And she said, I will refuse payment from you. Let this be your first wedding gift. And we were stunned. And I mean, it was so sweet and so kind, and a blessing.
That is a really nice story. I have to share with you, I've never told the two of you this, but there was a lesbian couple I married a few years ago, and they decided that their dog was going to walk one of them down the aisle. And I said, I'm fine with that. Can I just ask why? I'm curious. She said, you know what? Each of my parents, when I told them I was gay, really was not that accepting. And I know that even though they'll be at the wedding, they're still not that accepting. And it's been really hard for me. She said, my dog has accepted me always. And I still get emotional when I say this. And she said, that's why my dog's going to walk me down the aisle. Because my dog loves me for who I am and doesn't ever question any aspect of my identity. And it's just, I get the chills still when I think about it. I'm glad for your wedding. It didn't have to be that. It could be celebrating. But, it just shows that we all have our dogs have roles we can never imagine sometimes in our lives. And, having a dog in a wedding, like the depth of the relationship that you have with those dogs is more than people, especially people who don't have dogs, can understand or will relate to.
Like I said, our family was completely on board with us, but not so much with the dogs at the wedding.
Which people, it's, again, if you're not a dog lover, it can be very hard to understand. Who walked the dogs down the aisle, and then what happened to them afterwards?
We had a dog handler, just so we didn't have to worry about them. And we were married on a beach. So Arlene came from one side, I came from the other. And, we sort of met in the middle before we walked down an aisle. And when we got to the middle, the dog handler handed us the leashes of Lucca and Vorno. And so the four of us walked down the aisle together. And when we got to the huppah, she took the dogs back. But just that one little walk,
put tears in people's eyes.
Yeah, it got lots of oohs and ahs. And we were very happy about that.
And I know you got lots of great pictures. And then did they go home after that, or to, I guess, not home, but somewhere? Well, did they stay for the reception?
They stayed for the ceremony. And were very good boys, but with the dog handler. And then right after that, she took them home. And they didn't stay for dinner.
I always say to couples when I'm marrying them, hopefully it's something you'll only do once. Then you're an expert, because they say, oh, we don't know all these things. I say, of course you don't. You're learning because you haven't done it before. And then once you do it, you're an expert, but hopefully you'll never do it again. So I want to ask you as experts, if you have any advice for people in particular who want to include their dogs in their wedding.
Most of the people we have talked to, because everybody in it, where we are has pups. So, and we've asked, a couple of people if they've had pups in their weddings. And many people have. And I would encourage it because it brings a sentimentality and it brings a sort of unconditional love, just like into things. You have these 2 or 1 or 10 or whatever dogs you have, they're going to be there. they're going to be unconditional. I didn't have parents when we got married, but I had the pups and I had my new wife. But it brings a sensitivity to the ceremony, and it brings warmth and comfort. And I think it's good for people to see that. And when people are at weddings, you get upset and you see a dog and you get a comfort factor going on. And that's what I think. So I think everybody should have dogs in their wedding, even if they don't have dogs.
They could start a new thing, renting out dogs for weddings.
I would absolutely make sure before, of course, you have your dog at a wedding, make sure your dog, obviously the couple knows their dog. Some dogs can handle it, some dogs couldn't. All those things that you can have a very reactive dog, which you could have a dog that's temperamental. Maybe consider a different role for your dog in that. But we knew in our case, that they were calm and sweet, and they would be perfect in their short little visit in the wedding. But everyone knows their own dog and what that dog is capable of. So that would be my only advice. But I think that anyone who has a dog and who has a bond with their dog would probably want to include them. They're like their children, so
I encourage it.
Do it.
That's
include the dog.
The best ad for it at all, of all. Although I have to say I have 2 dogs. I love them more than anything.
The pictures are great.
They would not have been good wedding dogs. So all anyone has to do is look at your dog's Instagram account to know that they have quite the life. They go a lot of places with the 2 of you. It looks like they've been kayaking since they've been in Cape Cod and doing all kinds of fun things. Do you ever leave them behind, or they get to go everywhere with you?
They pretty much go everywhere with us.
Restaurants.
If we look for restaurants, we look for outside seating. We have snuck the boys into a lot of places we shouldn't have. They're very good at staying home alone, but we just love being with them, and we take them wherever we can. They're pocket size and charming, so if we can bring them, we do.
Can you remind us, I know you said earlier, but and I will put this in the show notes, how people can follow your dogs on Instagram?
Certainly. Our account is named Lucca, Lucca, Vorno, Vorno, and Levi, Levi.
Thank you so much for sharing about your wedding and about yourselves and about your dogs. It was wonderful to talk to you. I always love these, when I followed someone on Instagram for so long, I often don't even know the humans' names. I only know the dogs' names. I think, Suzy, I remember the first time we messaged,
right.
And I said, I'm Robin.
I understand. I do the same thing.
So I usually still refer to people like, oh, that's so-and-so's mom. But it's really nice to get to speak to you as people. You still are Lucca, Vorno, and Levi's moms, and you always have that role, but you are now, at least for me, Suzy and Arlene as well. And thank you again.
Robin,
thank you so much.
It's such a pleasure to meet you too. We love your Instagram page. We love seeing all the Jewish dogs and all the holidays and Sabbath. It's endearing. It's so much fun, and it actually makes me think of, like, when the holiday, what do I have to dress them up in so I can send it to Mazel Pops?
Well, keep it up, and most of all, happy anniversary. Have a wonderful day, and thank you for spending part of it with us,
Rabbi Robin.
And
thank you, Rabbi Robin.
Thank you, and thank you to all of our listeners for being here. I hope you've enjoyed this episode as much as I have.
Hello, shalom, friends. I'm Bo, one of Rabbi Robin's dogs, and an original Mazel Pop. If you enjoyed today's podcast, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, give us a pause and 5-star rating, and follow us on social media. Thanks for listening.